quiet neighborhood square, where you're now watching a Buckeye police officer roll up and jump out to confront a 14-year-old boy with autism.
What's going on?
Teen investigator Dave Biskobing is the only Valley
sort of
reporter with all
drug.
of the
Harassing,
evidence. He's pressing
beating,
Buckeye
throwing.
police.
Our company name is Trustle, and we are a group of high school students from the Texas Academy of Mathematics and Science.
Our product is the Intrapod, and with it, we aim to solve the issue of people with communication disorders being unable to communicate with emergency services like the police. Our team in particular was inspired by Larry Durker, an individual with autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, who has had to go to jail in the past because of his inability to communicate with the police. After digging a little more, we realized how large the scope of the problem is. For reference, a paper published by the Office of Special Education found that people with developmental disabilities are 7 times more likely to attract the attention of police, which is likely why a 2017 study by Drexel University found that 20% of people with ASD have had a run-in with the law by the age of 21. Cool. With the number of ASD individuals nearing 3.5 million, and that number rapidly growing, we realized we had a real neglected problem on our hands.
After talking with Larry, we learned that the Kristen Farmer Autism Center and many other autism centers throughout the country gave out description cards to people with communication disorders that list a person's communication disorder as well as their contact information. However, from our meetings, we have discovered that people with communication disorders tend to shut down during the encounters. Thus, we want to develop a system in which the person with a communication disorder has to take no action.
What is our solution to this problem? The Intrapod. This is a sleek 3D printed modular device that can communicate with first responders so that people with communication disorders don't have to. Here's how it works. Let's say Officer Hester is a police officer and Larry is someone with a communication disorder. Officer Hester can download the Trustle mobile application, which is only available for first responders, and Larry can purchase an Intrapod, which will be preloaded with relevant information for him from a clinic or a specialized center, like the Kristen Farmer Autism Center. Now, if Officer Hester is on duty and he sees Larry stimming, which is something that people with behavioral disorders tend to do quite often, then in order to make sure that this person he sees is not on drugs or doing something suspicious, all Officer Hester has to do is get out his phone and open up the Trustle mobile application, with which he can scan Larry's Intrapod and get all of the relevant information that he needs. We will use face authentication to make sure that it's actually Officer Hester doing the scan. Not only that, but as soon as the Intrapod gets scanned, then the Intrapod will send a message to Larry's caretaker along with Larry's GPS location, so the caretaker is in the loop, and it will start to audio record the encounter for future reference. After the encounter is over, Officer Hester can go back into the system and update Larry's profile based on observations, making this entire system very dynamic.
We put in several months of work to get to where we are now. This means extensive research, several iterations of our prototype, and talking to various people throughout the process. We received a lot of feedback from Officer Hester, the head of training at our local police department, regarding how to make sure officers actually use our app. He believes that with your help, our project could really take off in multiple departments across the country. One of the biggest struggles early on was really relating to Larry and other people with communication disorders. However, through our project, we have been able to put ourselves in the shoes of these people and not only receive a perspective that helps with our own understanding, but with our understanding of how more we could help.